Week 6, here we come. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. Another episode of The Deep End is just getting underway. You haven't missed anything. You did miss Jake Scott, if you're watching, crashing to the floor just minutes before airtime, but there doesn't appear to be any breakage, which is good. Just a little bump. So we will talk about, of course, we'll get to waivers ideas as we head into week 6. But before that, check a couple of standings where we're doing all right, see what our chances are, looking good in a couple tournaments. The most shocking storyline of the fantasy season or the NFL season is maybe how the Seattle-Denver trade, the Russell Wilson trade, has just gone upside down. Got to talk about that. And what about Taysom Hill? Let's go. Mike and Adam, welcome to The Deep End. Looks unscathed.
No, I feel I'm embarrassed. Who I know is the MVP. Well, I don't even know who it is.
This is Jake Scott, safety for Miami. He might have had 2 interceptions in the game. He had at least 1 in the end zone for the Dolphins when they went undefeated against Washington.
Incredible.
It's right there. Jets. I've been lazy back here.
It wasn't Mercury Morris. All the talking he does.
No, these are last week's matchups. Or Green Bay Giants. I have last week's. That's lazy.
That's lazy.
That's lazy. All right. So I am here because of Adam and the guys at Draft Sharks who brought me on, I guess, two plus years ago. And what do you know? Draft Sharks Invitational, season 3, and I'm in the lead.
What do you know? See, Mike, the difference. Some people need to see it first. Like, listen, we all know Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the NFL, but everyone has to. Oh no, he's got to win a Super Bowl first. And then no. Here at Draft Sharks, we like to. We saw it before it happened. We knew Mike Shope was going to be a star, so we put him on the team, and here he is. He's in first place of the Draft Sharks Invitational, right ahead of a friend of the show, Billy Musio. Incredible. I mean, we're fine. Don't say it's early. I won't let you say it's early because it's not early. Okay. We're 5 weeks in, teams are establishing. Like, the person who should say it's early is me because I'm in like 50th place. Oh, it's early. No. You're in first. Got a nice little 8-point lead. Do you have that squad? Is that on the, do you have that? Yeah. Okay. Yep. I'm adding it right now. There it is.
Can you see it? So I drafted a couple things. I drafted in the first division to the first night. And I picked last. And the first guy, if not the first 2 guys, didn't know it was Superflex. So that probably helped me because I was able to get Ertz at 12. And as soon as the next night, like the quarterbacks were getting pushed up, there was still, could have been Trey Lance just as easily as Ertz.
Sure.
But that's what happened. So I started Ertz Kelsey.
Yeah.
And, we went from there.
I mean, top QB or top 2 or 3 QB, top tight end after a 4 touchdown performance. What a night.
Nick Chubb.
Yep.
There's still potential here with guys that have not really done much, like Dobbins, even Kamara. Kamara has come on.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks, Romeo Dobbs. I'd really love to see for my portfolio Dobbs. I think it was a step back last week, but just sort of take over in Green Bay.
Yep.
And I mean, Lockett, Godwin is just starting, Rondale Moore. So, and of course, Chiggy Okonkwo at the bottom.
He's going to play a role before this movie's over. Okay.
I need that. I do like having Kenny Pickett on this team. So it's Cousins, Hurts, and Pickett
coming around.
And that was just like, he's going to have to play. And San Francisco didn't do it that way. Some teams don't, but come on, you're going to, I mean, in San Francisco's case, Garoppolo had taken them to a Super Bowl, so it's a little different than what Trubisky represented in Pittsburgh. But I feel like Pickett looked okay in the Buffalo game.
Yeah, I thought he looked okay too. And I even texted some of the Draft Sharks guys, like, listen, he can move the ball in this. I mean, the Bills are the best defense in the NFL, especially pass defense. So he's not going to go into Buffalo and throw all over him. But he looks like, listen, he gets the ball to George Pickens and he gets the ball to his receivers. Like they had 8, 9, 8, 10, and 12 targets. Like, he gets the ball to the right guys. He's throwing fade routes. He's trusting his guys. He's not a superstar, but for all we want him to do is get the ball to the receiver. So, yeah, no, I think Pickett will be good. And again, congrats to you. 5 weeks in, Mike Chopin lead, Billy Musio, John Scuderi, former FFPC main event champ, met him out in Vegas. Great guy,
Right.
loves Columbini's Pizza here in North Carolina, New York, as do I. Zach Kruger, another great guy. Mike Beer, everybody's great. I've met all these guys. Mike Beers, Jack Miller holding on to all those Aliva Richardson, Abib, and Kevin Scott. I don't know who's in what league, but Jack's living on the edge right now, leading his league and in like 10th place. But
I have JJ.
You have JJ. Okay. So yeah, no, congrats to all these guys. The Leone's in the top 20 there. So we're gonna be following this for sure.
Oh,
I can't wait.
It's good. There are trucks parked outside. Thanks,
right.
Bradley, for the compliment.
He loves the
Feel
show.
good. I'm looking for affirmation in this group. These are the very best,
the best of the best
players and analysts, and I just I want to hold my own. It's year 3, and this year I'm hoping to win something. So we'll see. We're also looking pretty good, you and I separately, over at FFWC in the player profiler.
Yeah.
Look at the overall leaderboard here. It's been fun to watch, and it's been fun. Like when you have a team you like, and then you see your buddy like right near you.
Yeah.
So Louis G and I are at 19.
Yep.
And you're at 21.
This is the overall standings for the player profile. Not that this matters at the moment. This matters more like for the final 3-week race, but it matters to show like how good your team. And that's what I think. I saw went in today, looked, my team was 4-1, had a ton of points. I'm like, oh, let me go check the overall. And the first thing I see, I'm scrolling down, I'm like, oh my God, there's Louis and Mike sitting ahead of me. I've always been chasing you guys all year. But that's great. And do you know how many? I only think I did 2, maybe 3 teams. I think 2 teams. I don't know. I fell asleep at the end of one of them. This is not the one.
You and I are in one league together.
Yeah.
We have a side bet, and we're both 2 and 3 or 3 and 2. We're both in the middle.
Yeah.
This is a very similar format to the football guys.
Yes.
The player profiler in terms of qualifying for the sprint and taking your scores with you. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I like getting those live updates. They have that at other sites too sometimes, but where you can.
Yeah.
I'll admit, Louis was at the stadium at Steelers Bills, and we were texting screenshots of these standings. I don't know, like 2:00. It's an Allen and Gabe Davis team, ours.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We got up to second for a minute on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Good. Love it.
Thank you. So that's going well. What's not going well? Main event, I think, for me, a little bit.
Okay.
Darren Armani, Fantasy Mojo, tweeted out a team last week that had Bridgewater, who was actually flat 0. Nyheim Hines, injured in the first series, 1 point, if that. And then T. Higgins, active and also 0. And I told Darren, I don't have a team with all 3, but all 4 of my main event teams had at least 1. And a couple had 2. So very tough week. Did we go? I think I went 0-4. Yeah. Veteran football guys, but that wasn't great. Tough. Bridgewater, what can you do when that happens?
Right. It's Bridgewater, it's Hines. I forgot to put it as a topic here, but this week 6 coming up is the all play in the FFPC. So we're talking, I kind of, how do you look at week 6 for the all play? So for people who don't know kind of what the all play is, maybe it's their first year. It's when they added that extra week in the NFL schedule, they needed to figure out what to do with it. And they made an all play week 6. Again, I wish they would have done it with no bye weeks 1 through 5, but they did it week 6. And so instead of playing head to head, you're playing everybody. So you basically have to finish in the top 6 in scoring. This is for football guys in main event only. They did this for the FFWC. They did it weeks 1, 2, and they're doing it week 14. I forget kind of the reason behind why they did it that way, but I like all play because I'm the team that, I like my chances to finish in the top 6 in scoring. I'm usually, that's where I can usually get every week. In fact, this year is a season where I'm going to like even more because I'm constantly up in the top and just getting kind of bad beat on some of the teams that I'm playing. So I look at it as an opportunity to it's like a get right week. Like, okay, let's get out, let's score our points, let's get our win and get the heck out of there. So we don't have to worry about, we're going to score 180 and lose or something like that. Score your 180, get your win, and go.
Would you ever set your lineups differently?
I was hoping you would ask me that, because I think I might. Like I went and set them Tuesday morning without that in mind, and then I'm going to come back to them obviously a couple of times throughout the course of the week. But I think I might get less risky in that, where it's a 50-50. I just got to come in the top half, and so maybe a guy that has a higher range of outcomes I might leave out for the guy with more of a guaranteed lock on points. So how about yourself?
I think, I would defer to you on that, but I think it can probably be pretty easy to overthink that.
Yeah.
Chasing a so-called higher floor. I mean, I think it's probably case by case, but like in some of these main events, I have a couple teams that are 1-4, and then maybe you're thinking the opposite way, where you just have to score like crazy,
right?
Because getting it on record is going to be really tough at this point.
Yeah.
So, like, who does that mean? I'll tell you one guy it means, and he's on the list for later, unless you want to do it now, and that is Taysom Hill.
Yeah, let's do it now.
I mean, just what the heck?
We talked about him Saturday, right? Did you end up getting him in some leagues and starting him?
I don't think I started him anywhere.
Okay.
One team, this happened to my friend Mark and I, same way last year, where you're just trying to get lucky at tight end because you don't have the safe elite option. And we just guessed wrong all the time, turning to somebody right after a good week, which is, sort of, it's going to be, it's going to be hard to, like Njoku even this year. Njoku had the big night game, and I'm thinking like, well, you can't start him next week, but that has held up, pretty well. It has held up pretty well, and he's now more consistent, and you can probably play him with some confidence. This though, what do you do? Like, does it matter what your record is at this point? How many tight ends can you and I come up with where we'd agree that we'd start them over Taysom Hill against the Bengals?
I can lock in probably 8.
That's what I was going to say.
8.
Kelsey, Andrews.
Yep.
Still Pitts. Still Kittle.
Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts, Kittle. Yep.
Goddard.
Higbee. Njoku. Waller.
Gotcha.
Is Waller hurt? I don't think Waller's playing. But I mean,
I don't know if he's going to miss, but he didn't. That's another 0 this week.
Right.
He got injured early Monday night.
Right. And then we've got Ertz. Ertz is playing the Seattle's the number 32 ranked tight end defense. So I might put him in there. But after that, I mean, probably not Gerald Everett, because he's either that's a guy are you going to start him this week? He's either a 1 or he's a 25 in points. Who do you start him? You start him or Evan Ingram, who's 9 or 10 every week. So, but after that, Taysom Hill. I mean, why not? He's facing Cincinnati's 28th ranked tight end defense as far as points allowed to tight ends, and he doesn't even play tight end. He's not even like it's a tight end premium. It doesn't even matter. We had to start him. I don't know if you heard Matt and I talking about it on the Monday morning recap pod, but we started him in our Draft Sharks main event because we had to. And it was just, I would be so frustrated if I was the guy playing us, because just our team was not good and he went crazy. And so, as long as Andy Dalton's starting, Taysom Hill should be a big option there. It kind of hurts Alvin Kamara. It stinks. But like for Taysom Hill, he's getting goal line stuff and he's getting passing work and all this other, and he should. Like, I'm not saying he should be a starting quarterback, but whenever he is, he's a fantasy feast. So, like, he should definitely be rostered, and sure, start him, because what's the worst case scenario? You start you start him over Irv Smith, and Irv Smith scores 6 points and he scores 4. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? So yeah, absolutely start him.
You want to factor in everything. You can't overthink it, but how good is the rest of my lineup? What are my other options at tight end? Of course, I think I would start Hayden Hurst over Taysom Hill.
Hurst,
I think I would.
Yeah, Hurst has been great, especially if I haven't heard anything new on Higgins, but if Higgins is out again, Hurst is going to be a stud.
Higgins did not practice. Dalton Schultz is forgotten at this point. I mean, hurt and then hurt again. So it depends on whether he plays, I guess. But Hill is it's just so wild. Like, everybody's these days focused on opportunities, snaps, targets, target share, everything like this. He's the worst at everything. He plays 20 snaps, But if a handful around the goal line, I did the thing that I'm often pointing out about other people. Mark and I have that main event team. We did play Hill last week when they played in London over Alberto and someone else, Bellinger, I think.
Right.
And he got in and it won us the game. That difference, that one touchdown won us the game, is almost the only thing he did in the game. And, good fantasy players know you don't want to live like that. You sort of discount that. In a couple of expert leagues, I'm curious tonight to see, with Hill available, if the league is going to condescend to him in the bidding, because, oh no, that's kind of how most people sort of talk about Taysom Hill forever, even in terms of him as a prospect. Always putting him down. Puts up 34 at a position where nobody gets you 5
right
after the first 10 guys. I mean, it's kind of hard to say no.
Right. And he's that's a great point. He doesn't even play tight end, but he slots in at tight end. So when he plays, he's getting valuable, he's getting goal line carries. He's throwing the ball. He's a quarterback / running back that you can put in at tight end. And after the top, like you said, 6 or 7, there's no one worth starting. So yeah, absolutely. You might as well slide Taysom Hill in there.
One thing about New Orleans that has made me like them, and where I've done this a couple times, is because after Kamara, they are kind of nowhere. I mean, Ingram doesn't work, and Murray got claimed by Denver. So Tony Jones in and out. They really don't have anybody after Kamara, and Kamara missed a game anyway himself. They really don't have anybody. The game in London where Hill scored is the game Kamara missed.
Yeah.
So there's rushing opportunity for him. It's just going to be, the whole point of Taysom Hill is just going to be here and there in the course of a game. Winston was back today, and he might play, and that could change your metrics a little bit on Hill. But Michael Thomas was not. I think Olave sounds good for Sunday, but he's still not official out of the concussion. Okay. What a stud that guy is.
He's so great. And this is kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but next year, man, it's almost like Theo Greminger was talking. Listened to a podcast he did last year, and just talking about how over at the GOAT District, how you just take the rookie receivers, man, and they're just going to be good. And a lot of it has to do with, a lot of teams are playing way more zone than teams used to play. You know what I mean? So these receivers don't have to be these incredible savvy route runners coming out of college. They can just, get open in the zone and then be awesome with the ball. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't take them 3 years to develop. I remember, back in the day, it was all the third year breakout receiver. Now it's the third week breakout receiver. Yeah, these guys they're athletic, they're awesome, they're ready to go. And so we can almost blindly just move rookie receivers up in the draft next year, just based on previous ADP from where they used to go. Just move them up around or so, because even Garrett Wilson's awesome. Now it's been a little different with Zach Wilson, but he's still awesome. So, and he was going in the 11th round. So yeah, it's time to move these guys up.
Those guys have both. They have the athletic talent, first round pick, ability. Then they also have the draft capital piece. So, teams, and especially these days, to your point, want to get them on the field. And you get to guys like Dobbs or Khalil Shakir in Buffalo that might be good enough to do well. And they're Gabe Davis 2 years ago in Buffalo, where they're drafted in the 4th and 5th round, but they can play. I mean, Shakir was very nice in this game. Not to mention second round guys, Pickens and Alec Pierce, I think, too.
Pierce.
It's just loaded. It's loaded.
Yeah, and hopefully everyone, we talked a lot to Guilds last week about fantasy baseball winnings, but we did mention pick up Shakir for $1 last week. So hopefully everybody did that, because he's either not available or he's going to go for way more than $1.
Yeah, I think he'll have a regular role. Maybe not startable in our stuff if McKenzie factors in too, but there's a lot to like. There's a lot to like about that guy. Dynasty is worth way more than he was, after the draft, way more.
Yeah, and I think Shakir is better than McKenzie. I've been the McKenzie versus Crowder guy, but now I think I might be Shakir over McKenzie guy. I mean, he just made plays. He made basic plays last week, but he also made plays that McKenzie doesn't make. He
down the field, contested
seam
catch.
route,
That's right.
contested.
That's right.
Yeah, and
that's right.
I've been talking about this forever with Gabe Davis. This stuff matters. When your all-world quarterback trusts you, to make that throw, for Josh to trust him on that throw, oh my God, and he made the catch. that's just gonna catapult you as a rookie receiver, and he's probably a better run blocker than McKenzie. So yeah, no, I think he might be something.
Let's talk about the Seahawks
Yeah.
and the Russell Wilson trade just going completely upside down here this year.
I know.
Starting with Seattle, I don't know, maybe I've said this to you before. I even did this on WGR today because I love the topic so much. I love the story so much.
I heard you talking about it yesterday.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's what Bills fans right now are craving is Seahawks discussion. It's not like their team isn't the best in the league. It's legit. I think it's legit.
It is.
And I love the argument for Geno Smith. Why shouldn't it be believable? A first-round talent, a down year for quarterbacks, and he didn't go in the first round, but he could have. He was the consensus QB1 out of West Virginia in that draft. He goes to the Jets, unfortunately for him, which for more than one reason, it's that you're up against it with your New York, and not everybody's wired for that. And that team, even going back that far and farther with their passing offense and coaches, like good luck, Rex Ryan, good luck. So washes out there, and this happens to so many guys, I think, Adam. Then you're nobody's guy. Like once this happened with Mayfield or Josh Rosen actually before that, where once you are out at your team that drafted you, you don't have that advantage anymore, and now somebody else does probably on that team. Buffalo had Matt Barkley, still does, and I've used this argument about Matt Barkley before. I feel like there's a player in there, but after he gets cut, doesn't get the draft capital in the first place, gets cut, bounces around, and nobody's making any investment. And these teams don't want to look like they believe in guys like that. Those guys are usually considered over. They're just sort of journeyman scout team guys. So anyway, Geno Smith, all these years, apparently working on his game. Why wouldn't he be? Getting better, not getting hit. And then he falls into a situation with no pressure. It's Seattle and not New York. Nobody's expecting anything except losing and slow pace and a quarterback in next year's draft. What a spot. And he's got Metcalf and Lockett and a very good running back. Like, that could work. So I know Penny's out, but Walker might be even better, maybe just as good, same situation. I know their schedule gets tougher, but I'm loving this and also believing in it. It's so cool.
Oh, it's so cool, and it just shows to show you like nobody knows nothing. like we don't know anything. Like we're murdering Pete Carroll, and we still should, but we're murdering the Seahawks. And just they stink, and their line stinks, and their defense stinks, and their quarterback and here we are. Like Geno Smith looks awesome. I mean, we're not just talking about game manager. We're talking, rolling left, flipping his hips, throwing dimes down the sidelines, like rising in the pocket. And I was saying this on Monday, and Matt was like, all my flag football quarterback prowess I'm talking about. But his mechanics look like they've changed. Like looks like he's hopping into throws differently, and the ball's exploding. And so, yeah, it's great for everybody. It's great for him, for his fantasy. He's available on waiver wires still, guys. Go pick him up. Drop Jameis Winston. Drop quarterback 18 through 24 that you have as your number 2, and go pick him up because he's going to be worth it because of Lockett, because of Metcalf. He's made Lockett a top 10 fantasy receiver. Metcalf's right up there. It's great for the whole offense and great for Kenny Walker now. He's got the backfield all to himself pretty much. He'll give up some passing down work to DJ Dallas. Fine. Apparently Kenny Walker can't catch anyways from what everyone was saying in July, but we'll see about that. We'll see. But he better rushing prospect than Rashad Penny. So he could be really, I've got a couple teams, where I go and look, I'm like, oh man, I got Kenny Walker now, save my season or catapult me. I think I have a main event where I just threw Kenny Walker on the roster. He was already on the roster, but now he's in my starting lineup, and the team looks way different now, a 0 RB team. So, the Seahawks are going to be great for fantasy now, thanks to Geno Smith.
I think that makes DJ Dallas, and even maybe is Travis Homer still a thing? Like the backups now that are one step away in Seattle, and they might get the passing game work anyway, like you said. They're sort of under the radar, relatively speaking, waiver ideas tonight. Okay,
Yes.
because I've heard just podcast after podcast talking about if Kenneth Walker.
Right.
Okay, right. We
Right.
know, but he's probably not. And then the deep end, right? We want attention on DJ Dallas, who could be
and we'll talk about guys coming up, but DJ Dallas is definitely a guy you're going to want to go pick up because he does have the passing game role. He's a veteran there. He knows the roster, and he's another running back that's one injury away.
On the other side of that trade, almost just as incredible, maybe just as incredible, is the Denver side. And Russell Wilson. I mean, you'd rather have Geno Smith than Russell Wilson, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, Russell Wilson, and it's all, there's the problems, all that all come to find out he has what do you have, like a torn muscle or something like that? It's just like, well, okay, fine. But like the problems that I'm seeing with the offense aren't the torn muscle. Like it's on third down, they snap the ball, he looks down and just looks for somewhere to run. Like he doesn't even know the play that's being called. That's the problem. The problem is he's looking around and not being decisive with his reads. It's not his inaccuracy. Now he did miss Judy on a long, deep drag route that might have resulted in a touchdown last week and stuff like that. But he didn't look like he underthrew him. He just threw it too far inside. So I don't think it's the injury. I think it's everything else, maybe plus the injury. But Geno Smith, I would feel more comfortable starting Geno over Russell Wilson here for the near future.
Wilson does have Sutton and Judy.
Yep.
And, sort of enough to work with there, even with Javonte Williams out, for me to think that there still can be a pulse there. And it should take time with a new coaching staff, even if you're Russell Wilson, Super Bowl winner, to assimilate in a new offense. So it's not the most surprising. It's surprising in how really bad, like, their timing has looked. They sort of look like a team that doesn't practice. And
That's right. That's a great point.
We know what Russell Wilson wears to practice, his uniform. We just don't know if they actually have practice.
Correct.
In Denver. I mean, I like Wilson. I think much of the criticism about his personality is unfair. Like he might
That's
be
just how
different.
he is. Right.
Seems like he is different, but I don't think that means he can't play the game. We've seen it for a decade. But Judy's tenuous as a starter, isn't he? I mean, is that not much to say? Sutton's in my lineups.
Yeah, Sutton's right. Sutton's less tenuous. Judy is, I feel like he's right there. Like he scored a couple times, and I think he's getting open and stuff like that. But Russ has missed him, and excuse me. And so, yeah, he's another 4th, 5th round receiver in that range of all those receivers I was taking. It just hasn't clicked. It hasn't clicked with Juju. It's clicked a little bit more with Judy, but not really. I mean, there's a whole Brandon Cooks we'll talk about. Like it's a whole group. I feel like way more misses than there were hits in that 4 or 5 round range.
McLaurin, Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
Like
the list goes.
They're just getting squeezed.
Bateman.
I mean, Bateman, right. You wanted Amon-Ra St. Brown and no one else. Mooney.
No. God,
no one else in that range.
Just a
disaster.
That's
tough. I mean, when you're drafting, of course, you don't know anything like this, and you're doing your best. The ADP speaks for itself, and a lot of those guys were clustered together. Allen Robinson would be quintessential in this area.
Another one. It's amazing. Maybe next week we'll just pull up a draft from the end of August and look at the 4th. I mean, it's just so it's gross, and it's just for people who were doing, which is why it's hard. Like there's been a lot of talk about how the 0 RB is killing this year, but it's not killing because of the receivers. It's killing because of the Josh Jacobs in the 8th round and Kenneth Walker in the 10th round and like all the running backs that are smashing later on. The high end receivers are fine, but like we're talking about like like we just went through the 4th, the 5th. I mean, Keenan Allen in the 3rd round has been dead. T. Higgins hot and cold, which they're going to be, but like the 4th, 5th round, 6th round guy, Michael Thomas, it's so like all of them have just been so gross. We haven't had that huge breakout other than Amon-Ra, who's now missed a game and a half or 2 games essentially with injury. So yeah, we'll see how some of these rosters kind of shake out at the end of the year.
Very interesting. I do a bonus episode just looking at draft boards. I miss drafting.
Oh, I know.
I miss it.
Listen, Underdogs offer and draft. We can do one tonight, I think. Do they have a draft going on?
They have something that's ending tomorrow. They have a tournament that's ending. It's closing tomorrow, but I've not been in there. Well, yeah, that good point of the running backs. It's Kareem Hunt a little bit. It's Miles Sanders for sure. It's CEH and all his touchdowns. Singletary to some extent, like those guys. This one main team I have just haunts my thoughts all the time.
Haunts your dreams.
Diggs, Lamb, Mike Williams, Cooks, Robinson, which I know, like not everybody would start a draft that way, but then right to running back, Dobbins, CEH, Singletary, Hunt in some order. So that's my draft through 9 weeks. I don't have the elite quarterback, and I don't have Tyler Higbee or some other tight end that's working out. So I'm stuck.
Right.
And I think I wouldn't have been so much if one of those receivers hits, but there's a whole, like you said, another show, whole strategy session. I'm pretty sure I got that wrong, not just am losing.
Yeah, but I mean, if you hit the right running backs there, though, I think you'll be okay. And and again, it's like we just haven't had. There's middle round, and I feel like there's some life left. There's some outs for those guys still. I think like there's been a lot of injuries, like the Bateman, Michael Thomas. There's been a lot of injuries to those guys, and they haven't been there. Even like guys like Jamar Chase is wide receiver 22. Like that's been weird. They can't get him the ball. But what you've got is the receivers kind of after that have really like all the the Chris Olaves, Amari Cooper, like a lot of those 8th, 9th round guys have stepped up and to kind of make up for that kind of the players not popping off yet, So, Allen Robinson's probably dead. I think they brought him in to be, hey, listen, Cooper Kupp's going to be our guy everywhere in between the 20s, but in the red zone, like I think he's like third tied for third in the NFL in red zone targets. Robinson is, yeah. And it's just they haven't connected once, twice, called back on a stupid penalty, but like they got to get into the bye week. Their bye week is not this week, but the next week. Get into that bye week, and then let's see. But I'm not starting him. I'm not starting him now. I'm not starting him coming out of the bye week. Let's see if they can get it right.
The only Rams you can start are Kupp and Higbee.
Right. Absolutely. I cut Stafford in a league this week, and I've seen him on the waiver wire this week doing waivers. Like he's like with no rushing upside. I trust McVay to get it right. And I think a lot of it has to do with just him not throwing with these guys, especially Robinson, all off season. And, and so then not having that connect, because it's clear like the connection just isn't there. So I feel like that's probably has a lot to do with it. But yeah, you're definitely not starting him until then.
Carolina this week at the Rams, and if Carolina can hang and even win at the Rams with PJ Walker and all their problems, new coach, man, that would be
DJ Moore's another one.
DJ Moore is another one. If I'm the Rams, I do not want to play a team like that now. Or like, that's not thinking like a player, but sort of a fan.
Don't know what to expect. Right.
There's no good result there. Like I have to win. I have to beat Carolina at home.
I know.
And if I don't, I'm 2-4 going to the bye, and my quarterback was injured before the season even started, and he's getting pounded. They can't block anybody.
Right.
So good luck to their passing game. They can't block anybody or run the ball.
Yep.
Well, shows how much parity and how fickle it all is. That the Super Bowl teams are the 2 worst teams in the NFL at yards per play through 5 weeks. Amazing. Waivers tonight. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start with quarterback, Geno Smith, go grab him, right? He's proven that it's a coming out party for him this year. Ton of talent around him. Defense isn't good, so he's going to be in shootouts. He looks good. Go pick him up, especially if you're streaming quarterbacks. Go at him. So that's where I would start at quarterback.
How do you feel about Zach Wilson?
Yeah, you know what? When I lost. I did main event team where I lost Trey Lance, and my backup was someone that was terrible. So I ended up dropping them both and picked up Zach Wilson and another quarterback that I'm going to just stream. And I'm okay with starting Zach Wilson. I don't care if they win. He's got the upside. He's got the receivers. He can run a little bit. He's got the talent around him. So I think he's okay. I mean, again, he's a streamer. I would rather have Geno. I'd rather start Geno over him. He's probably like QB 18 every week, but he has upside into the QB ones because of his defense isn't great. They're a little bit better. They're not, but they're they're not great, and he's going to be in shootouts.
San Francisco is interesting among running backs right now. I mean, Mitchell will come back in a week or two, probably, or maybe.
Yep.
Wilson's been very nice if you had him. That worked out. But you have Tevin Coleman now. They released Marlon Mack. It's always this way with San Francisco. Tyrion Davis-Price is practicing.
Yep.
Jordan Mason, I think, still exists, but stashing him has led to nothing because like, he just never gets the ball. And if there's not someone I missed, like that's still a little bit of a cluster there. I think Coleman is interesting. Kyle Shanahan's had him in Atlanta, in San Francisco. Like coaches love guys like that, like a Jamal Williams sort of player where they know what they're going to get. And with San Fran, like some week it could just be someone else running the ball 24 times. And so Coleman, you know, he participated last week. Did he not score even in that game?
He did
against Carolina.
Yeah, he scored on a nice long one. Yep.
No, he's somebody that, or Davis-Price. I mean, one or the other. Always be ready to go deep on San Fran.
Yeah, exactly. Add them all. Mason, you could probably shift out now, and it's okay. Like you add Mason, it doesn't work out, great. Move on to the next. Like for every Mason, there's a Jeff Wilson. So, and you're not spending a ton of money on those type of guys. But Coleman, I think Coleman's definitely leapfrog, whatever however you want to call it. TDP.
Oh, yes.
TDP because you know he's a rookie, and you know Coleman is, like you said, Coleman is a Shanahan guy, and he looked good. So I would be adding Coleman for sure. And you know, Jeff Wilson could go down. Elijah Mitchell was the ad 3 weeks ago. Like I was adding him everywhere. If he's available in your home league, whatever, maybe even go try to trade for him cheap, because again, once he comes back for the playoff run, I think he's going to be the guy. So go at him. I think another, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
It's hard to know, isn't it? I mean,
yes,
they could keep with Wilson. They could go elsewhere. Like it's really hard to know. That's life with San Francisco. Like there's upside if you get it right, but you have to get it right.
Right. Another, like to go off the Seahawks again, DJ Dallas is another guy I would be adding. You know, he's the guy right behind Kenneth Walker now, but he's pass catching. So I like him. We talked about him a little bit. Another running back, Josh Kelly, is a guy who I think has now supplanted himself as the number 2 behind Eckler. Eckler's so stinking good. Every time, I don't have a lot of Eckler because I was taking receivers in that range, and not because I didn't trust Eckler, but because you know he's so tiny, and I think he's eventually going to miss a couple games. But that's why I was kind of going receiver there. But every time I see him run, I'm like, man, I should have taken more Eckler. But Kelly is a guy who I think is the number 2 there now for sure, behind a smallish running back. He looked good, scored, and so he would be another guy that I would be looking into.
Who do they throw the ball to out of the backfield if Eckler goes away?
Right,
Michelle,
Keenan Allen. I don't know. Maybe they'll get him back and do that. But
receiver wise, in terms of like FFPC and the bigger leagues that we do, or player profiler, it's guys that teams gave up on that can still. They were drafted. It's Jarvis Landry. It's Robbie Anderson. You know, veterans who are like 90% owned, but league to league, you see guys. DJ Chark is another one. Marvin Jones is another one. Would you bother? Like, or maybe one of those guys? Is it worth bothering, or would you rather have sort of a handcuff potential or someone else?
Yeah, I think you could bother. Again, it depends on your team build. Like, there's some, you know, wide receivers that have been getting hurt, so maybe we add some of those guys. I think Shakir, like we talked about, is an interesting one. But Marvin Jones is a little bit tougher because, again, there's just so many mouths to feed there that are kind of in the same range. Like, who's it going to be every single week? But you know me, I prefer to do it to do a little handcuffing, you know. But even a guy like, speaking of handcuffing, like even a guy like Ben Scleronic, you brought him up a couple weeks ago. Like he has been kind of like the default number 3 behind Higbee. They love his blocking. And if Kupp, God forbid, if Kupp ever goes down, not that he's Kupp, but I think he'll get an uptick in targets as well. So he might be a guy that you can get for $2 or $3 on your waiver wire.
Yeah, you probably need that injury to start him ever, but
sure,
like he's sort of like a handcuff in that way with his narrow as the route tree is. Is that the word I want? Narrow or short or small or thin? What's the route tree descriptor?
That's right.
Tight end, we talked about Taysom Hill. You know, after you get to like 14, 15, they're all the same.
I know.
Little boxes on the hillside made of ticky-tacky. They're all the same. They're all just 2-3 catches. Maybe they score, maybe they don't. It doesn't even interest me to try to pick which ones. Juwan Johnson versus Daniel Bellinger. Like, it doesn't interest me.
Who cares? Right.
I refuse to engage. I'm not even going to do it. Delete. Cancel. No.
Right.
Cancel big group. I just don't. You start the week, you're like, maybe Kylan Granson. Just refuse to do that and settle for the guy you have because he was bad last week. He'll be good this week, maybe.
Or he'll be bad like all the rest of them, and you save yourself $1 on the way or $3 on the wire.
That's right. Harrison Bryant or Mo Alley Cox.
Will you stop? Please stop.
Will Dissly or Harrison Bryant or Mo Alley Cox or Juwan Johnson or Greg Dulcich.
No.
Or Kate Otten.
Or Hunter Henry. Or Eric Saubert. Oh, God.
Hunter Henry.
Boy.
I did that, and I like that.
I like it. I was a Jonnu Smith guy. I mean, I was both last year. I thought they were going to do 2 tight ends. We're going to get back to the Gronk, Aaron Hernandez days. And they just, Jonnu Smith, they signed him to a big deal before Hunter Henry. They don't do jack with him. Now, they're still not doing jack with him, but he's taking taking time away from Hunter Henry. Like, what is going on here? Figure it out. So then he doesn't play, and Hunter Henry has a good game.
He gave you a usable week anyway.
Right.
Henry last week compared to most of these guys, and didn't need the touchdown to do it. That's a proven good player on a team. You're talking about their tight end history. Yes. I think there's hope there. For me, he's different than those other guys, but not by that much.
Not by much.
Okay. Off to the church.
Off to church tonight? You're praying for
off to the
praying
church.
for Noah Fant? Is that what's going on?
I'm going to pray for Noah Fant and the rest of that list. No, got to pick my son up from his scouts get together.
Nice.
That's where they have it.
Nice.
Any final thoughts? Week 6, Washington, Chicago. The good news is Chicago is on next Monday night also.
Just so gross. What do we
New England, Chicago, New England.
I'm thinking about just like not even just like spending the night with the family. Like, you know what, babe, tonight, like maybe win some brownie points. You know what, tonight I'll spend time with them. I don't need to. It's a big game, but I don't need to watch it.
If she knows there is a game on that's Thursday night and sort of a ritual to put the game on, then that could work.
Oh, she definitely knows.
Candles, incense.
Wow. Incense.
The flavors of fall, the aromas of fall, pumpkin and apple and cinnamon sort of floating around, nutmeg and cloves and different things.
It's that or Justin Fields. So.
Isn't there a football game tonight? What?
Shh. Don't worry about football.
So what's the best way to reach us? Twitter, DeepEndFF1, at Shope Talk, at Adam Krautwurst with that long line in between the two names.
That's right.
YouTube. What Draft Sharks, powered by Draft Sharks. You can reach us there. They love us.
Draft Sharks loves us. We are the heartbeat of DraftSharks.com. Okay. And don't you forget it, Lenny Papano.
The soul, maybe not the soul, but the heartbeat. Okay. Thanks for listening and watching tonight. Good luck in week 6. Let us know your thoughts, comments, feedback, what we got wrong, whatever. And we'll see you in the fantasy streets and then next week here on the Deep End. Good night.
See you guys.